Kinoko versus takenoko. Which should you choose? In the snack aisle, someone stands frozen with Kinoko no Yama in one hand and Takenoko no Sato in the other, unable to decide which box to drop into their basket. On social media and variety shows, Kinoko versus Takenoko battles flare up again and again, with both sides insisting that their favorite is obviously superior. When you actually have to choose, is the more rational option the lighter, cleaner-to-eat Kinoko no Yama, or the richer, dessert-like Takenoko no Sato? In this video, we host a 10-round, 20-turn debate where both sides clash on perfectly equal footing over which one you should pick. Are you Team Kinoko or Team Takenoko? Tell us where you stand in the comments. Now, let's jump into the debate.
The main reason we should choose Kinoko no Yama is the rationality of its structure. The chocolate and cracker parts are clearly separated, and if you hold only the stem, your fingers barely get dirty. You can eat it safely on school trips, in the car, or while studying, when you really don't want sticky hands. Also, each piece has a slightly smaller amount of chocolate and feels lighter, so it is easy to adjust how much you eat just by counting pieces when you want a little bit of something sweet. If we treat snacks as tools that have to work smoothly in everyday life, the design of Kinoko no Yama is extremely rational, and there is strong reason to choose it.
The reason Takenoko no Sato should be chosen is that the satisfaction from the integration of chocolate and cookie is overwhelming. Compared with a plain biscuit, the cookie part is richer in butter and has a crumbly melt-in-the-mouth texture rather than just a crisp bite, and the chocolate layer is thicker than on Kinoko no Yama. As a result, one piece gives a clear sense of, I really ate something sweet. With coffee or tea, it functions much more like a small baked dessert than a simple snack, and its quality is high enough for an adult tea time. If you focus on the density of flavor and texture, Takenoko no Sato clearly comes out on top.
I admit that Takenoko no Sato is rich, but precisely because of that, it is a snack that depends heavily on the environment. In summer or in a heated room, the chocolate softens easily, and because of the shape, you tend to hold the chocolate-covered side, so your fingertips get sticky. Kinoko no Yama, on the other hand, has a distinct chocolate cap and a thin stem, and it is designed on the assumption that you hold the stem. Even if the chocolate softens a bit, your fingers are less likely to touch it directly, which makes it easier to handle outdoors or at events where you cannot wash your hands easily. Moreover, the pieces are small and uniform, which makes it simple to distribute fixed quantities to many people, so it is also suitable as a handout at schools or workplaces. Considering this versatility, choosing Kinoko no Yama is the option with fewer practical risks.
However, in reality, people mostly eat snacks at home or in air-conditioned offices, and there are not that many situations where they melt in an extreme way. Under those conditions, whether a bit of chocolate gets on your fingers matters less than how much satisfaction you get from each piece. Because Takenoko no Sato's cookie contains plenty of fat, butter, and cocoa aromas spread in the mouth as you bite, and it functions not as a mere snack but as a small dessert. The high satisfaction per piece means you're actually less likely to keep mindlessly eating 10 or 20 of them, and in that sense, it can even help you control your total intake. Since the calories will never be zero anyway, it is more reasonable for many people to get concentrated satisfaction from Takenoko no Sato in a compact way, rather than nibbling diluted sweetness for a long time.
The strengths of Kinoko no Yama are its lightness and neutral taste profile. The cracker part is modest in both sweetness and fat, with only a slight saltiness that gently brings out the chocolate sweetness. Because of that, it feels relatively guilt-free as a late-night snack during work or study, and it is easy to pick it repeatedly when you just want something a little sweet. After eating, persistent greasiness does not linger in your mouth, and a glass of water or tea quickly resets your palate. If we assume you keep the snack around and eat a small amount day after day, not getting sick of it and a clean aftertaste are more important than sheer richness. Under those conditions, it is clearly Kinoko no Yama that fits better.
On the other hand, isn't it a bit self-defeating to demand lightness and no guilt, even from sweets? Snack time is originally a small reward within everyday life. And what matters there is the density of satisfaction, not just calorie intake. Takenoko no Sato has chocolate and cookie that both speak up clearly, and 2 or 3 pieces are enough to make you feel you really had a treat. In that sense, it can even reduce the risk of unconsciously munching on 10 or 20 pieces because you are satisfied and stop. Since the calories will never drop to 0, instead of spreading out thin sweetness over a long period, choosing Takenoko no Sato, which gives you rich satisfaction in a short burst, is arguably more reasonable even for mental well-being.
Kinoko no Yama is also excellent in terms of freedom of how you eat it. Its simple, mushroom-like shape is visually easy for children to recognize and use, and it is often used as a topping for cakes or parfaits. Because the structure is divided, you can play with it. For example, bite off only the chocolate cap first, and then eat the cracker stem, or do the opposite and collect the stems to eat together. This play with the structure is only possible because they come apart so clearly. Online, you can find many shared recipes and decorations that use Kinoko no Yama, showing that it functions as more than just a mass-produced snack. If you want to enjoy sweets as communication tools or craft materials, Kinoko no Yama is clearly easier to handle.
Takenoko no Sato also has plenty of visual fun. The small bamboo shoot-like 3D shape looks like a little forest of hills when several are lined up on a plate, and it has a strong presence as decoration for home parties or children's birthday cakes. Because the cookie layer is thick, you can easily add adult-style tweaks such as a little homemade caramel sauce or cream cheese on top. It is true that it is not made to be taken apart and played with, but in exchange, the finished form of each single piece looks complete on its own and has a high photo-ready quality, a very modern value. If you want a snack that looks good, both as it is and in simple arrangements, Takenoko no Sato is by no means inferior to Kinoko no Yama.
From the perspective of how easy it is to share, Kinoko no Yama has a clear advantage. Because the pieces are small and uniform in shape, it is easy to say 3 per person and distribute them in a way that avoids feelings of unfairness. And since the structure is cracker-heavy, for the same total weight, you get more individual pieces, which means you can give some to more people within a limited budget. In offices, clubs, children's groups, and so on, situations where you need to serve many people are surprisingly common. In such cases, Kinoko no Yama meets the organizer's needs for cost and quantity balancing without having to worry every time. This practical benefit is difficult to ignore.
However, if your only goal is handling a large head count cheaply, there are plenty of cheaper options like potato chips or small hard candies. The reason people specifically choose between Kinoko no Yama and Takenoko no Sato is more likely that they want a proper snack or a classic that can become a talking point. In that situation, what matters more than ease of distribution is a taste that stays in people's memory. Thanks to the rich combination of cookie and chocolate, Takenoko no Sato leaves a clear impression even on first-time tasters. Rather than events with huge numbers of people, it is in smaller meetings or gatherings of friends where you want to serve something a bit nicer that putting out Takenoko no Sato will improve how the host is perceived.
The balance of textures is another strong point of Kinoko no Yama. The cracker is not too hard, and when you bite into it, the chocolate cap snaps and then the two parts crumble together. The feeling is like combining the snap of biting a chocolate bar with the lightness of a snack. By contrast, because the cookie of Takenoko no Sato is thick, some people feel my mouth gets dry or it's tough without a drink. Children and older adults in particular sometimes eat snacks without any beverage. So, from the viewpoint of chewability and safety, Kinoko no Yama, which crumbles lightly and is less likely to stick in the throat, is more conservative and safer. If we prioritize a design that works under the same conditions for as many people as possible, this well-balanced texture is a significant advantage.
Still, we should recognize that the culture of enjoying snacks together with a drink is already well established. If we assume coffee breaks and tea times, it is actually valuable for the cookie part to have some substance. With Takenoko no Sato, as you bite several times, the aromas of wheat and butter build gradually and blend with the sweetness of the chocolate, so the flavor evolves over time. This process of changing flavor is what makes it different from a simple snack. Evaluating it based on a situation where children eat endlessly without water distorts the picture. If we instead base our evaluation on adults taking a deliberate break and savoring their snacks, the richness of mouthfeel and chewing in Takenoko no Sato is exactly the desired feature.
In terms of acceptance across generations, Kinoko no Yama also performs well. A cracker-based structure with modest sweetness makes it psychologically easier to choose for older people who dislike heavy desserts and for parents who are concerned about their children's sugar intake. Even if a whole family picks at one bag, they are less likely to feel, "This is too sweet and tiring." The bite is also moderate, and people with weak teeth can eat it slowly without undue strain. A snack you keep at home should not be tuned only to one family member's taste. It matters more whether everyone can say, "This is fine for me." In that sense, Kinoko no Yama works as a rational compromise for the whole household.
But if we prioritize something everyone can eat without complaint above all else, snack choices become too uniform and dull. Even among the elderly, many people think, "I don't need much quantity, I just want something truly delicious." And for that need, Takenoko no Sato fits better. Because the integration of cookie and chocolate gives high satisfaction per piece. 2 or 3 pieces are enough to feel you have truly had a sweet treat. If there is even one serious sweet tooth in the family, it is also rational to stock a slightly luxurious snack for that person. Rather than prioritizing bland universal acceptability, it is legitimate to prioritize being clearly delicious. And from that angle, choosing Takenoko no Sato is perfectly reasonable.
In terms of brand image, Kinoko no Yama has a unique position. In the various mushroom versus bamboo shoot debates, Takenoko often comes out ahead in popularity polls. Yet Kinoko supporters, though fewer, have continued to argue their case persistently. This is not just contrarianism. It shows that there is a stable group of connoisseur-type fans who choose it after recognizing its lightness and structural rationality. Being weaker in simple majority voting does not mean inferior quality. In fact, the unbroken support from a passionate minority over many years is evidence of its completeness as a product. If you value choosing snacks based on your own criteria rather than popularity or hype, supporting Kinoko no Yama is a stance with real persuasive power.
At the same time, it is also true that Takenoko no Sato consistently wins in market data and promotional campaigns. That is not just a popularity contest. It is proof that the product is designed so that even first-time eaters can instinctively feel it tastes good. The chocolate and cookie combination is a globally classic pairing, and Takenoko no Sato reproduces that at a high level, which is why people keep buying it and why it continues to be a mainstay on store shelves. The intensity of the minority's passion should be respected, but we cannot ignore the fact that consumers keep choosing with their money. In everyday shopping, the behavior of choosing the one that is reliably tasty is perfectly rational. And from that viewpoint, people who choose Takenoko no Sato are acting entirely naturally.
Looking at the total picture, Kinoko no Yama combines practical advantages. It does not dirty your hands easily, it is light, it is easy to share, and it is easy to eat for all age groups. It works both indoors and outdoors without much trouble, it stays light even if you nibble repeatedly, and it lets you control cost conveniently when serving many people. Its flavor profile is also simple, so it does not polarize people with extreme quirks, and it has strong stability as a standard snack for regular stocking. If we regard snacks not as the star of an event, but as part of daily infrastructure, there are not many products as well balanced as Kinoko no Yama. If you prioritize rationality and versatility, there is no need to abandon the position that Kinoko no Yama is the one to choose.
Even so, we should not forget that snacks are fundamentally closer to luxury than to infrastructure. Takenoko no Sato is designed to pack the richness of chocolate and cookie into each piece and to satisfy by quality rather than quantity. Because of that, even in a short break, just a few pieces can reset your mood and provide something that is more than just filling a hunger gap. At home or at work, if you choose everything solely based on rational efficiency, life becomes bland. Keeping Takenoko no Sato on hand sends the message that we have made the effort to have something genuinely tasty. For people who want to maximize the quality of their limited snack time rather than efficiency or lightness, Takenoko no Sato is the optimal answer.
In the end, choosing Kinoko no Yama reflects an attitude that snacks are also part of life planning. You take into account calories, cost, ease of sharing, whether it dirties your hands, and how safely it will be accepted by anyone you serve it to. There are not many products that satisfy all of these at once. In that sense, Kinoko no Yama functions as more than a matter of personal preference. It is a manageable default solution. Rather than having something that shines only in specific scenes, you value flexibility that allows it to fit reasonably into any situation. And from that perspective, there is ample rational basis to consciously choose Kinoko no Yama over Takenoko no Sato.
By contrast, choosing Takenoko no Sato reflects the decision that, for snack time, it is okay to be a little biased. Ordinary light snacks and candies can be replaced by many other products, but the dense satisfaction that comes from the integrated chocolate and cookie of Takenoko no Sato cannot easily be substituted. If you deliberately set aside rationality and versatility for a moment and prioritize the desire to enjoy something truly delicious, even if just for a short time, Takenoko no Sato clearly wins. It is not about choosing it because it is the majority favorite. It is about taking it in your hand based on the policy that I do not compromise on snacks. This stance exists on a different axis from the Kinoko side's logic, and it is a choice you do not have to yield on until the very end.
This concludes our 10-round debate on whether you should choose Kinoko no Yama or Takenoko no Sato. When you stand in front of the snack shelf, which do you feel is the more reasonable or more satisfying choice for you? Tell us which side you're on, your reasons, and any memorable Kinoko or Takenoko stories in the comments.